Tonight on NBC, Jimmy Fallon and Bozoma St. John host the incredible new competition show.
I hired 10 creatives from all walks of life. They will be battling it out to see who can impress the world's biggest brands.
This is a huge opportunity.
This is the battle for the next big idea.
This is not play.
We're spending millions of dollars.
I'm so excited to embark on this adventure with all of you.
May the best idea win!
On Brand with Jimmy Fallon, tonight on NBC.
Hey, business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through October 29th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends October 29th, 2025.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
Woo! All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation show. And it's your Sunday after dinner edition coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina. This is our last show on this trip to Fayetteville. Next one will probably be the end of this month. The 20th through the 24th will be our next road trip. Tonight, I have a special guest in the studio with me. Lacey is joining me. What's going on, Lacey?
Not much. Trying to get over all this pollen and dust and dirt and funk down here. But hey, other than that, I'm doing great.
It's great land down here in the Pine Barrens of North Carolina.
Yes, it is. Just having a great time.
Definitely are.
Hey, after that amazing lunch that we had today, yeah, it was good.
Some good Capri pizza from Capri's here in Fayetteville. Both had raviolis, though, garlic knots. So smelling the truck tomorrow should be rather interesting when we go out to the woods.
Oh, I have already eaten 2 pieces of that pizza that I brought home with me, and it was pretty tasty.
We could be in trouble tomorrow. Jake, we have a pretty good guest tonight. He's USMC veteran, combat veteran at that.
Rich Brown.
That's right. Got out of service as a 100% combat service, disabled U.S. Marine Corps veteran, executive protection specialist, small business owner, and event director of GUIDON22. It's a 22-mile ruck march dedicated to honoring veterans and raising awareness of suicide prevention. This fits right into our wheelhouse here at the Misfit Nation, and we should bring him right in here. What do you think?
Hey, bring him in.
What's going on, Rich?
I'm staying out of trouble. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's great to have you here. You get a double dose tonight. Usually you just get to see my pretty face. Tonight you get to see Lacey as well. He's usually a Tuesday crew guy. But, we take him off the bench every once in a while, let them come out and hang out in the big leagues. So, Rich, we just gave the basically the elevator pitch speech about you right there. Dig back into your bag of tricks and tell us a little bit more about Rich Brown from as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon and Northwest Montana. Enlisted in the Marine Corps the day after my 17th birthday. Shipped off to boot camp 4 days after high school graduation. Been in the infantry for, I did 3.5 years with 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines in Iraq and Afghanistan with them. Was part of Operation Pill, Whalers, Red Wings, all those fun, exciting adventures. Having the time of my life in the infantry, and then spent 4.5 years teaching at the basic school here in Quantico, Virginia. And I put down roots here, started a family, started a couple businesses, and never left.
Outstanding. To go right after high school graduation at 17, that means someone had to sign you in, didn't they?
Yeah, my mom had to sign the contract. It was funny because, she didn't have any problem at all with me joining the military. She did want me to consider all the branches, and she made the mistake of going into the Navy office first. And so we sat down with the Navy recruiter, and I said, "Look, I want to be a Marine." And my mom said, "Yeah, but I want him to talk to everybody." And the Navy recruiter was smart enough to say, "Just let him join the Marine Corps."
Outstanding. Excuse me.
Now it's time for my joke here. I was going to join the Marine Corps, but I didn't like the taste of color crayons.
We actually have. I had my buddy is he got out as a gunnery sergeant or a master sergeant in the Marine Corps, and I had him design these pill organizers for us, and they look like little crayons.
Oh, wow.
That is awesome.
We're doing the work for the VA, getting the Marines to take their vitamins.
Awesome. Now you just got to shape the vitamins like little crayons. It'll make it all the much more better.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to join the Corps, and how did your time in service shape what you are today?
Sure. Yeah. I was a freshman when my mother gave me a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And so I started having all these ideas about being a business owner and owning the cash printing machine instead of being a part of somebody else's machine and all those kind of ideas. And then early one September morning on my sophomore year, a bunch of idiots decided to fly planes into the World Trade Center. And so all those ideas about being an entrepreneur took a back seat. And like I said, day after my 17th birthday, I was signing the dotted line.
That is a great book. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a great book to read if you want to get into the business world or be an entrepreneur. It's a great book to move forward with. It's a lot of good baselines for you in there, and it's actually required reading in many business schools right now. So, very good book for you to read as a freshman. That's outstanding.
Sure.
Yes. Yes.
And as for my time in service and how it shaped me, so 2007, Haditha, Iraq, I was blown up by a 13-year-old boy, threw me about 15 feet through the air. And at the time, it was diagnosed as a mild concussion because I had played football for 5 years and wrestled for 7 and taught the Marine Corps martial arts program. So I'd been hit in the head more times than a homophobic bouncer at a lesbian biker bar. So I knew how to answer all the questions. And like I said, at the time, it was a mild concussion. But about 2 or 3 months after getting stationed at Quantico, the doctor said, no, we need to take a deeper look at this, and decided that I did, in fact, have a traumatic brain injury to the degree that they weren't going to let me re-enlist. So they let me finish out my contract. They said, we'll allow you to teach these new lieutenants, but we're not going to let you go back to leading troops in combat anymore. It's a little too important for not to be able to trust your memory on the fly. And so that was a kick in the gut. You know, you're being told you're not going to be able to do the thing that you love to do anymore. Especially as men, especially as military men, we really tie a lot of our self-worth to our competence and our ability to protect and provide and lead people. So I had to come to terms with that. I think now I've had plenty of time to deal with it. And so I recognize that they made the right choice for all of us. But at the time it sucked, right? Coming to terms with it. But it also gave me time, right? So I started my first private security company 2 years before I got out of the Marine Corps.
Wow.
I was running a private security company out of my barracks room. And at first it was just nightclubs and bars and stuff like that. Cause I'd been a bouncer since I was 19. I was bouncing at a bar I wasn't old enough to drink at. And, when I got stationed at Quantico, I decided that's a great way to meet people again. So I'd get right back into it, especially at Quantico, where when you're teaching, you have a schedule, I know I'm going to be off this weekend, I know where I need to be and all that. So
yeah.
Unlike the infantry where it's always dynamic and, especially as a PFC, Lance Corporal, whatever, you have no idea if you're gonna have the weekend off or not most of the time. So I started a private security company, and we went from just nightclubs and bars to retail security within 3 or 4 months, and then had our first contract protecting a top secret government research lab within a year. And I built the business to a little over $1 million in sales within 4 years. Was acquired by a company called Arrow out of New York, and then was with them for about 8 years before I decided that we weren't really going in the same direction, and we didn't want to do the same things, and started Leftwich Global Protective Services, which is the company that I run now.
That's outstanding.
Now, are there?
Okay, Jake.
I was going to ask, are there any special, besides getting a business license and all that, if anybody's looking to do this, are there any special licenses that you have to get besides, I figured you got, you need if you're in a state, you need a gun permit and you need a business permit because you're having a business, but is there anything special that you need to have to be legitimate in doing this?
So the fun part about private security is that it changes from state to state. Every state regulates private security differently, if they regulate it at all, which is only a couple of states that don't regulate it at all. And some of them are very strict. Doing any kind of executive protection work in Washington, D.C. is a nightmare, quite frankly. Virginia has the Department of Criminal Justice Services. So you get a license from the Department of Criminal Justice Services, and then you get registrations in each category. So if you're going to do retail security, that's different from doing private investigative work or doing bodyguard, executive protection work, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. All right. I didn't know exactly how all that worked, but
yeah.
All right. Are those hard to get? They're not hard to get, are they? Or as long as you got a clean record and all that, you're pretty good to go, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So doing the like retail level, private security, unarmed security guard stuff, it's a 2-day course. Doesn't usually cost more than $200 to get it done. If you want to do armed work, that's another, you have a day of arrest authority, another 3 days of armed, and then a range day. Executive protection is a little more in depth. Usually that's at least 2 weeks, but it varies from school to school. That's another thing, is the schools can train to whatever standards they want, as long as they meet the minimum standards by DCJS. And then you've got some national schools too. So I'm a graduate of Executive Security International out of Colorado.
Okay.
So I did their 10-week program.
Okay.
Really good school.
All right.
Has any of the leadership you learned through the Corps spilled over into your business leadership?
Absolutely. One of the primary things that I look at that I don't think enough people talk about is the industry could learn a lot from the military when it comes to small unit leadership, right? From the time that you get into a platoon, your team leader is almost immediately teaching you how to take their job, right? A squad leader is teaching team leaders how to take their job. Platoon sergeants, et cetera, are trying to teach the people under them not to just do well in their skill, but also how to fill their position, because we all know, the first day on the battlefield, you could lose a lot of people and somebody's got to fill that position, right? Whereas when you get into industry, they're going to teach you the skills, but typically the people in whatever leadership billet they have, they're not looking to have anybody replace them. They're very, guarding of their position. And I think if you could invert that and make it more like the military, your organization would do a lot better. And then, a lot of people think of military leadership as being, standing on a podium and yelling down to people and immediate obedience to orders and all that. But all the best leaders I ever served under, it was very much a servant leadership position. The best leaders that I ever worked for were always looking for ways that they could make their subordinates' days easier, right? How can I remove this obstacle so we can get there faster? How can I remove this obstacle so that my subordinate leaders don't have to deal with, this other chain of command or whatever? Whereas, a lot of times in industry, again, it's more of, how do I do the least amount of work today as possible?
Definitely. And you see that in the corporate world. It's if you're giving a task that on the book says it takes 80 hours to accomplish, in their mind, they have 80 hours to accomplish it. But when you give that lance corporal or that corporal a job that might take those 80 hours, they're going to do it in a day. They're probably done within 4 hours. They'll have that mission accomplished. So when they go out to that corporate world, they try to hit those jobs, and next thing you know, it's done before they even start. And they're like, what do I do now? Oh, let's do another task. And that's where a good leader comes in and says, look, let's go hide somewhere so no one knows that you're unemployed right now, and go take care of you for a little while I figure out how I can get us out of dumb motor pool operations or something like that along the way.
Yes.
Jake, any questions on that?
No, we just have one pop in here. Eagle Talon popped in again. He said the security industry is pretty transient, and not having a revolving door is very important with the job. And I would say that is probably true.
It is so true, in fact, that across the industry, most people won't report their turnover. It's very difficult to find any real accurate, consistent numbers as to like an industry-wide turnover rate. It's part of it is government contracting, because government contracts typically last anywhere from 1 to 3 years, and they lose that contract, and they typically lose all the people who are on that contract because they're either going to work for the next company or they're moving on to something else. They don't typically stay with the company that hired them. But then also, it's so widely unregulated consistently that anybody can get into the industry relatively easily, and you don't have to have any kind of leadership experience, any kind of business experience. And it's a whole, like, once you find a company you can work with, we're constantly networking and subbing work to other companies or taking work from other companies. And once you find another business that you work really well with, that's a relationship that you try to take very seriously.
Yeah, I'm sure. I am sure. Yeah, and you probably just, and this is just my take on it. You start doing executive security and stuff, you might just happen on to if you have a protectee that sees something in you, likes you a little bit or whatever, that could open up doors for you on other avenues as well.
Yeah, not only is it there have been a number of large executive protection businesses, and I'm not going to, the names don't matter, but they have a real issue with, for example, I know of a couple of well-known CEOs who got so tired of some of these companies constantly changing out who their protectors were, that they just said, "Hey, come work for me directly. I don't want to deal with the company anymore." And so they're constantly losing their employees to their clients that just go to work for them directly because they don't want to deal with the middleman, not because they don't want to pay the extra or whatever, but because the companies can't keep a consistent protectee principal relationship.
And I can completely understand that. I can completely understand that.
So I know when
then you got other clients who don't want the same protector for more than 6 months to a year because they get too comfortable or they start building relationships that become complacent.
Definitely. In Tennessee, I know there's a lot of people that have the LLC saying I'm a security business, and then they'll just go on Facebook and say, "Do you have a concealed carry permit? Can you do security this weekend?" They don't ask me if they have any credentials or anything. Can you do security with me? And we go down to Nashville, do security.
Fill in the spot. Yep, just fill in the spot.
And that's how they do it almost every week. You see the ads jump into Facebook.
Yeah.
So that adds into that never knowing who you're going to have watching you that night or watching your business that night or whatever you're protecting.
Yeah. No, my doctor's got me on 6 mind-altering drugs, but I'm going to come down and pull security for you.
Why not?
Hey,
one of the 6 might work.
My favorite, especially in the bar industry, was you'd constantly get people who would walk up to you and say, "Hey man, I'm a Golden Glove boxer. I've been doing Taekwondo for 8 years. Man, can I work for you?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool, but can you talk to people?" It's really one of the things I'm most important, mostly concerned about is how well can you communicate with people around you. I don't give a shit how fast you can knock somebody out.
Yeah, and I bounced in bars when I was when I lived in Mississippi. And that's the big thing. Just, you're not there to beat the crap out of people. You are there to calm them down and get them outside. That's it. And
yeah, in fact, I used to have a number of tricks, and one of them would be that, if I had somebody that I needed to deal with even if it wasn't that loud, I'd just blame it on being in the Marine Corps. Say, "Hey man, I can't hear you in here. It's too. Can we go outside and talk about this?" Now I have them outside. Now I just don't have to let them back in. They walked out on their own accord. It was great.
Yes.
That's one of the first lessons in Roadhouse from Patrick Swayze. Take it outside. Be nice. It's time not to be nice.
Be nice.
Take them outside. Don't let them fight inside.
Started my first security company. It was called Accolade Security Network. And I chose the word accolade because long before it meant just achievements, an accolade was the process of dubbing a knight. And way back in the Crusades and before that, you would have war fighters who either were training for war or they were in war, and that was their entire life. And so kings would try to bring them into the castle to honor them, and they'd often be so brutish that they would hurt the people they'd spent their entire lives protecting. And so it's very similar to the nightclub and bar industry. Most of the losses that they have in terms of physical altercations and that kind of thing are from the bouncers that they hired to work from them. And so, we were trying to kind of change that status quo. And teach guys who, yeah, they were physically capable of handling themselves, but it was much easier to just build rapport with people, have conversations, and just convince people that they were making poor life choices, you know?
Yeah. You know, if you convince them that, hey, I've seen you here a lot, you really like this place a lot. Do you ever want to come back again? And a lot of times that'll settle them down.
I know in like Dirk Spendley's bar, you're talking about the worker causing more problems. They actually killed a guy trying to get him out of the bar, trying to de-escalate something. They wound up killing the guy inside the bar, and that's in a big lawsuit now within Nashville and his bar and the owners of the bar. I mean, it's called Dirk Spendley's bar, but it's usually just their name on top of someone else's lease. So
it's a licensing agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what that happened, I think, last year inside his bar.
Yep.
And that's probably just from someone being overzealous in their actions or not knowing exactly how to de-escalate something.
If you're thinking about starting a private security company, the first order of business, the first advice I would give to anybody is be careful when you're hiring people and look for the people who genuinely want to help people versus the people who, if you ask the right questions, you can find there's a lot of guys in this industry that just have like this authority complex and they just want to be in charge of everyone and tell people what to do, and weed those guys out real fast.
Yes.
You do local background checks on them or national background checks?
National. Especially in this area. I'm so close to Washington, D.C. We have people from all over the country, all over the world live here.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, the comet definitely needs the right kind of mindset to do that kind of work. De-escalate.
Yes.
You got a question, Jake? Or
no, I was going to kind of shift a little bit. I'm reading about honor bound fit right now, and I want to get into that. That's
all right. There you
go. But hey,
so
if we could take a quick pause real quick, something I like to throw in here all the time. Folks, if you're out there, you're feeling down, you do not feel like that you want to see tomorrow, don't do it. We love you here. We want to see you here tomorrow. If you think that you can't make it through the day, make it through the night, pick up the telephone, dial 988. If you're a veteran, take option 1. Somebody there will talk to you and get you the help you need. And personally, I never knew anybody that did that. This weekend, somebody who I hold very, very dear to my heart picked up that phone, dialed 988, and they got them the help they need. She's on her way to a better place now. And I just a heartfelt thanks to whoever that was that picked up that phone on the other end. I owe you a lot. And just remember that tomorrow will be a better day with you in it. If you don't want to call that number, email jake@themisfitnation.com, info@themisfitnation.com, or steven@themisfitnation.com. Leave your phone number. We'll call you back as soon as we get that message. We will call you because, like I said before, tomorrow is too beautiful of a day for you not to be in it. All right, so let's go to honor bound fit.
So, like I said, I've been running private security businesses for almost 20 years now. I'm kind of a business geek. If it's business, guns, or fitness, or for food, I'm typically, the most talkative one in the room. But my close friend, about 2 years ago, was going through a divorce, and I'm real big on tribe and purpose. And he was struggling to find purpose after his divorce. And I know that he had talked about running a CrossFit gym and wanting to start his own CrossFit gym for years. And he had gone overseas to do some military contracting and put a bunch of money away to do that. And his ex-wife spent it all. I'm sure you've heard that story. So when he was kind of spinning his wheels and looking for purpose, I said, hey, man, when are we going to start this gym of yours? And so it only took a couple of weeks for him to kind of stop hemming and hawing about it. In fact, the local manager at our Black Rifle Coffee Company down the street saw him wearing a CrossFit shirt and said, "Hey, we've got this event. We'd like you guys to come out and set up a table, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Well, I'm not really affiliated with this CrossFit gym anymore, but I am starting my own gym." And so we started Honor Bound Fit in the parking lot of a Black Rifle Coffee on Memorial Day 2024. Nice. We spent about 6 or 7 months doing parking lot workouts, parking lots, churches, parks, wherever we could gather to get a good workout in. And then we opened the doors on our own gym in September of last year, and it's been off to the races ever since. We're big. We're not CrossFit. In fact, we call it CrossFit Rehab because we're fixing a lot of CrossFit athletes. It's traditional strength and conditioning. We do throw Metcons in there like CrossFit, so it does kind of have that feel, but it's a lot more like traditional strength, hypertrophy. We kind of cycle throughout the year between whether we're doing heavy strength training or heavy hypertrophy or weight loss or whatever the goal for the season is. Keith runs all the training. He calls me business daddy because I run the business on the back end. But yeah, we've tried to build it to look like it's very vet bro Americana interior design, right? So we've got a 65-foot flag hanging in the back of the gym. We got 14 core values. Yeah, I got 14 core values up to the left of that that we try to use to not only kind of dictate the direction of our lives, but how we run the business. And then to the right of the flag, I don't know if you can see it in whatever pictures you're looking at, but we have a Iraqi-style security post on top of our office, complete with replica 50 cal and a guard on the post to overwatch and concertina wire and all the things. So you can tell who our target audience is, right? We're trying to bring out the vet bros, the local veterans who might be missing a tribe, might be missing purpose, because that's the two things that you lose when you leave the service. You lose your purpose and you lose your tribe. And so the faster you can find those, the better off you're going to be. And so that's kind of our target audience. I will say that about once a week, we joke that we're not a women's gym because I think about 70% of our clientele are women, and we're honored by that. We love that they feel comfortable and want to work out with us, but it wasn't who we sought out to bring into the gym. And you would think that would help recruit the young men from Quantico. When I was 22, 23, I would have loved to work out in a gym that's mostly women. I was trying to get away from that sausage fest every chance I could.
And I was going down through your Honor Bound Fit website here, and I like this the small group training, because you have a group of maybe 4, 5, 6 folks training all together all the time. You kind of got your own little squad, and
it also works out that we're still working under an occupancy permit of 8. So we can't have the gym too full at any given time. So most of our training time is small group, but it's like a hybrid between small group workouts and personal training, because Keith is always there. He tells you what the workout is. He demonstrates the exercises if you're not familiar with them, and he helps spot you and figure out where your weaknesses are and that kind of thing. So it's more than just small group training. It's not quite personal training. It certainly doesn't have the personal training price tag, but it is a very comfortable setting for most people.
Awesome. And you get a lot of benefits out of the workout, but I think hanging out with a bunch of like-minded people and maybe discussing some problems you may have, or issues that you're having, maybe you've just got out or been out for a while and still have issues. That's just, so you're getting something more than just a good workout out of it. That's really amazing.
And to your point too, we tactically acquired a few things from our time in the Marine Corps, right? So I was a black belt McMap instructor. Keith was a McMap instructor, and so we brought in some of the. Every week we have a character tie-in. So you get your workout, and then Keith is going to talk to you about the character tie-in for the week. We really try to teach the mental, physical, character, spiritual side of things. We're not just whole body workouts, we're whole life. Try to be as holistic as possible.
Cool. That's and that's. Go ahead, Rich.
I'll say we had a question come in from the audience just now. I'll pop it up here for you. This is from Lou Gang True. What impact has the GUIDON22 event had on veterans in the community? Thank you, Lou Gang True.
I appreciate the question. So GUIDON22 started last year. We ran it December 22nd of last year with 37 participants. But it started, so earlier in the year, I decided that I wanted to introduce our members to rucking because it's a great fitness tool. It's a fast and effective way to get into zone 2 cardio and stay there. It's less injury prone than running. There's all kinds of benefits to rucking if you're doing it smart. And so we started doing a kind of a monthly progression throughout the year. And I looked at the calendar and said, hey, December 22nd is a Saturday. We all know that more veterans are removing themselves from society around the holidays. And so let's do 22 miles with 22 pounds on December 22nd. And that was last year. And now this year it's November 22nd, which is a Saturday. And so the whole point of GUIDON22 is to raise awareness and prevention around veteran and first responder suicide. We all know 22 a day. I think now the most recent number from 2023 is 17 and a half, which is great. But it doesn't count the military members and veterans who are using drugs as their weapon of choice, or who are suicidal but do it on the back of a motorcycle, those kind of things, right? So the number is just a number. It's just a symbol to rally around. And that's the thing with the GUIDON, right? Is it's a symbol. I don't have to explain to you guys, before we had modern communications, before we had radios on the battlefield, we had battle standards and we had drums, and that's how we communicated with each other. And your battle standard for your unit, it was the original way that you communicated to the other units on the battlefield, like, hey, I'm here and I've got your 6, right? And there's a lot of responsibility connected to it as well. So you see a change of command ceremony, and the outgoing commander passes it off, physically passes off the GUIDON from the outgoing commander to the incoming commander. So it represents your unit and it represents responsibility. Unfortunately, right now, it's kind of the status quo that a lot of veterans are getting out of the service, and they have this mindset of, I'm just going to use my DD-214 as rolling paper. I'm going to play video games, collect a disability check, and I might as well be living in my mom's basement for the rest of my life. And it's fine to decompress after service, but don't isolate, right? Because when you start isolating, that's the quickest way to, like I said, removing yourself from society, either through homelessness or suicide. And so what we're trying to communicate is like, look, that's not the same man or woman who stood on the yellow footprints or who rose their hand to defend the Constitution. Find that person within you again. Find that spirit that caused you to join the military to begin with. Find a issue in your community. Find some type of cause to rally against. Pick up your GUIDON and lead. Right? Carry the standard forward. Don't just rest on, I was a veteran once and now I'm broken. Right? You were a badass. Keep being a badass. Find some new way to be a badass.
Definitely. You got to find your purpose and wake up every morning and say, this is what I'm going to do today. I have this purpose to get out in my community and maybe get the youth mentored and let them lead the next generation of our country, because they're the ones who are more important to us at that point. Right now, we're not going to be the next presidents of the United States, but those kids that are in middle school and high school right now, they're going to be the ones that lead us into the future. So we have to start mentoring them. That could be your purpose right there. Most of us get out the military, like you said, we don't know what to do with our hands anymore. You can't isolate. You have to have that purpose. You have to have that drive, that fire. The Travis Manion Foundation is a great example of this, how they get veterans out there mentoring, using character strengths of the mentees to try to build them upon themselves, to help them not just help themselves, but help their peers grow as well. And I think that's kind of what you're doing with both the Honor Bound Fit and the GUIDON22. Honor Bound Fit, you're doing that mental, the physical fitness along with mental fitness when you do the character instructions and stuff. And then the GUIDON22, doing that 22-mile ruck. I don't care how much you work out for a ruck. A ruck is not fun after 12 miles. So if you have camaraderie getting up to that 22, it's going to be awesome to do. If you had 37 last year, I hope you have 74 and above this year to get the 22 miles in.
Yeah, we were very humbled to have 37 participants last year, but we are trying to make that look like a range walk this year. I'm hoping to have at least 200.
Outstanding.
And to your point, 22 miles it's just on the edge of approachable for most people, right? I will say we do it at a 3-mile-an-hour pace. We're not running, right? It's not even, the Army and Air Force move faster when they're doing their qualifications for whatever tabs they're trying to get or whatever. And it is 22 pounds feels like a lot of weight after 18 miles, but it's just 20 pounds. We take a stop every 3.5, 4 miles to let people hydrate, fix their gear, have snacks, whatever. I'm an asshole. I'm going to tell you right now. I tell people from the very beginning, before they ever buy tickets or when they show up, I say, hey, we have logistics vehicles, we have emergency vehicles. If at any point you decide you just can't go any further, there's no shame in dropping your pack in one of the logistics vehicles or getting in the logistics vehicle, and we'll get you back to the start line so you can, either wait for us to finish or get in your vehicle and leave. What I don't tell them, and now I'm, the cat's out of the bag because we already did it, is that before we start every next leg, I read a story about a veteran who removed themselves from society, how it affected their family, how it affected their community. And suddenly those guys who were like, I'm just going to, I'm going to check out after this checkpoint. Suddenly they're like, okay, fuck it. I can go another 3 miles. Right. I'm hurting, but I'm not hurting as bad as they were. And so I'm really proud that we had almost everybody finish last year. And I think we will again this year. The thing I'm doing a little different this year is instead of me reading the stories about these veterans who committed suicide, I've invited family members of veterans who have committed suicide to come out and tell their own stories.
Wow.
And those stories are powerful.
Very powerful.
I can't hardly handle a lot of them. And sometimes all it would have taken was somebody to reach out and lend a hand, or for that person to ask for that hand.
And we don't require the families to ruck with us. They're welcome to. I will say that there is a lot of catharsis in that pain.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
If the family members are not reading it, are you going to offer it up to any of the participants to read the names as well?
Yeah, like I said, last year I read all the stories. I'm trying to have a family member at each checkpoint this year. If we don't do that, I may absolutely invite anybody. I certainly don't need to be in the spotlight. It's not for me.
That'll also give them.
And I keep saying veteran because that's the root of who we are. But it's first responders too. We think of first responders as the home team, and we wouldn't have deployed overseas to fight on foreign soil if we didn't have people back here protecting our families and loved ones. Firefighters, law enforcement officers, EMTs, they're all bringing up those numbers with us, so to speak. And so at least one of the family members that I invited out, their loss was a firefighter. And we want everybody who gives a shit, we want them to come out and participate in this.
Outstanding. So I think it was Los Angeles Police Department had a bunch of suicides in the last, I think they had 6 in the last 2 years within the same precinct, I believe, or adjacent precincts. And I think they go through this stuff on a daily basis, whereas us as service members, when we go to war, we see it, we go through it, but we come home, but we just can't turn off what we saw. They have to go through it every day. Every day they meet people on their worst days. They never meet someone on.
No, and I've said for years, I miss the kinetic environment. I miss killing bad guys. I miss being in Iraq and Afghanistan. I genuinely do, but I couldn't be a police officer. Right. I think responding to domestic dispute calls on a nightly basis would wear a hole in my heart, and I don't want to know what that person looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Never turn off.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jake.
Responding to domestic violence, and then the most dangerous thing that I think a police officer could do is a traffic stop in the middle of the night. That I'm not scared of much, but that right there would terrify me, and I don't know. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, and EMTs too. For some reason, we track veteran suicides, we track law enforcement suicides, we track firefighter suicides, but we don't track EMT suicides. And if I had to guess, that's probably because a lot of it's privatized, right? So we don't necessarily have that number readily available, like we would if they were employed by the government or military. Um, but they are, I think everybody knows that they're at the higher end of that spectrum as well. And I used to think it was funny. I used to joke about how so many EMTs are overweight. But then I thought about it one day and I said, if I was scraping brains off the pavement every day, I'd probably sit in the back of that bus and eat my pain away too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably drink a lot on their week off, their days off too. So they're trying to hide it or numb the pain.
Yeah.
We do have another question here from Devil Inside You, I believe it is. Yeah, Devil Inside You. How do you balance physical fitness with mental and emotional resilience? Thank you, Devil Inside You.
Yeah, it's not a balance at all. There is a direct connection between physical fitness and mental wellness. The more you get out and push yourself, the more you're getting into zone 2 cardio, the more that you are pushing like your slider says, do hard things. Get out, be athletic, do athletic things, and your mental health and resilience will improve. The other thing is, like I said, we have 14 core values on our wall. One of them is only 2 words, and it's be useful, right? I think too often we think about our self-worth and we say, oh, well, people would be better off without me. Insert that catchphrase here. If you want to feel better about yourself, it's kind of like a hug, right? You can't give a hug without getting a hug. It's reciprocal, right? You need to go out and be useful to others and you will feel useful. You look at special forces selection, whether it's SEALs or any other special forces, the guys who always make it through, it's not the biggest guy. It's not the one who looks best naked. It's almost always the guy who, when things get really tough, they start looking at the men to their left and right and say, hey man, how you doing? We're going to make it through this together, because it's reciprocal, right? When you start looking to help other people, you're going to feel better because they're going to do the same thing for you.
Definitely.
Yes.
Those are the leaders I always thought were the best ones to have, both whether we're in combat or in garrison, the ones that looked around to their men and women and said, how are we doing? How are we doing? Are we doing today? How are we all doing today? Not how are we pushing towards that target? How are we doing? And that usually gets more of a buy-in, and that leadership approach is reciprocal, because it all comes back. When they realize that you're there for them, they will definitely be there for you, and everyone will push forward to victory.
And occasionally, I'll tell anybody out there that might be subordinate to somebody, ask your leader how they're doing.
Yep.
I think it's interesting too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
There's an extreme on the other end as well, and I had to learn this about a decade into being a small business owner. That I've always had that mentality. I think it comes from the military that, if I'm constantly making sure everybody around me is doing okay, and I make sure everyone's taken care of, everything's going to be okay, right? Because a rising tide shifts whatever the quote is, right? But occasionally you do have to make sure that you put on your own gas mask first. If you're not doing well, if you're not taking care of yourself, because you're it's unfortunately terribly easy to say, well, my number one priority is to provide for my family, so I'm going to work all the hours to make sure that we never have to struggle financially. And so before you know it, you're working 70, 80-hour weeks. You don't remember what your kids look like. Your wife never sees you. She might as well be a single mom. And, everyone is struggling because you're focusing too much on one thing. And you really, if you don't have somebody around you to look at you and say, hey, get your shit together, sometimes you do have to make sure you're putting on your own gas mask first. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody.
Definitely, that's 100% correct right there. Listeners, please heed that message right there. If you're not practicing that self-care, how can you help others? Take care of yourself. That way you can help others, and all of us can stay in this fight together. Well, what advice would you give to that veteran or first responder out there that's saying, hey, I want to throw my hat into business. I want to become an entrepreneur. What advice would you give them?
It's never been easier. I'll say that it's never been easier to start your own business. There's plenty of catchphrases. I think the one is just start, right? You can find a 100 business ideas in a day on YouTube or Chat GPT or whatever. I would say find something that is important to you. Find a cause, be useful, right? Find something that you're passionate about, and then try to build a business around that. I was recently at the military influencer conference, and I'm talking to a bunch of guys who are in the YouTube community, and they got all these followers and so on. And what I kept hearing a bunch of them say is the last thing you want to do is go viral for something you don't actually want to do, right? You hop onto some trend that's trending on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, and you go viral and you get all these followers, and they're going to expect you to do that thing over and over again because they think that's who you are. With music, we used to call it selling out, right? If you changed your style, you went to pop or whatever, then you lost all your fans because you sold out. But in life, and especially on YouTube or whatever, if you are going to be successful at something, you might want to make sure that it's something you enjoy doing. So find something that you really like, find something that's important to you, figure out what your core values are, and then build a career for yourself around that.
Outstanding. Well, our 50 minutes of chatting with you has gone pretty fast, like in hotel rooms of Fayetteville and in your home there. Usually when we get towards the end here, we ask a couple questions. The first one is, what is the best way for the Misfit Nation to get in contact with you? They want to pick your brain. If it's the guys that are on here who have shows want you to come on their show, how do they get in contact with you?
Sure. Honorboundfit.com. Almost all of our socials are at honorboundfit. No spaces, no periods. My email is rich@honorboundfit.com. We just started our own YouTube channel called Beyond Impact. We're going to be starting another one here soon to get the stories of some of our Vietnam and Korea and Desert Storm veterans out there to be kind of permanent on the internet. Trying to get you as visible as possible.
Outstanding. And then the final question, I ask it my way. Jake asks it a different way. I'll go with my way tonight. What's 3 things the Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better humans?
That's a big question for a parting question.
Put you on that spot right before you got to leave and say, damn it, these guys.
3 things that the Misfit Nation can do to better themselves or better the country. What was the question?
Be better humans. Better people.
Figure out what's important to you. For me, I love a George Washington quote. It's the duty of all nations to acknowledge, obey, and be grateful to Almighty God. I said earlier, be useful. And good friends have hard conversations. If your friends are struggling either psychologically or making poor choices, be that friend who's willing to have the hard conversation with them.
Outstanding. Those are 3 good ones. Actually, 3 different ones than we usually get. So that's awesome. Be vulnerable would fall into all that right there to talk to your friends. So, Rich, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Jake, do you have any parting words for Rich?
I don't. First of all, brother, I wish you all the luck. I hope you at least double the amount of people that you have for your ruck march. Sadly, I think we will be in Puerto Rico for that.
We will.
It's real hardship deployment you got there.
Yeah, but maybe we can put on our weight vests and stream it live.
Sure. Yeah, I will. I get the question a lot about whether you can do it digitally. It's certainly not the same when you're there with, a huge group of people and hearing stories directly from the people, et cetera. But I am hoping that over the next couple of years, we have a guide on 22 West out in California and a guide on 22 South in Texas and so on. So we'll see where this goes.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. And best of luck to you.
I appreciate it. You as well.
Rich, thanks again for taking some of your time on a Sunday night to hang out with us. This has been a great chat with you, and we look forward to seeing great things from you in the future.
You as well, man.
Misfit Nation, remember what Jake said earlier. A day tomorrow with you is 100 than a day without you. Stay in the light. Stay in the fight. Keep pushing forward. Call the people in your inner circle, that little circle that you have, the people that you call all the time to send memes to. Send them a question saying, hey, I need help. What can you do for me? Or, hey, how are you doing? If you think about someone, text them or call them. Until Tuesday, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling. Because you know who we are here? We are the Misfit Nation.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.